Today was a huge win for the club. I don't know if you know why, but apparently today we broke our club record for most consecutive wins in a European competition. So today we made it 7. And I know what you might be thinking. Oh, but it's just the Conference League. But guys, it doesn't matter what league it is. And you know what? I'm feeling so inspired by this. I'm going to work on trying to break Evel Knievel's record of most amount of cars jumped over. He jumped over 50. I'm going to go for 100. Let me go see if I can find my old Hot Wheels. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and got the job done barely. And it shouldn't be this rough, but it was, because that's where we are right now. We're going to struggle against even teams like Copenhagen. And frankly, looking at the match overall, second half was better, obviously. Still didn't end very well, but God, the first half was atrocious. And I have to look at Maresca and ask, what the hell was he thinking with that lineup? Because the lineup is really what killed us in the first half. And also did not set us up too well for the weekend either. And I'll talk about that when I get to it. But just looking at the game itself, it was one of those games where we had so much possession. We were so dominant on the ball, but never looked dangerous. They had so little possession. Every time they got the ball, they looked dangerous. Yeah, I compare it to the Liverpool and PSG game yesterday, where PSG had so many chances, and then Liverpool, they got that one chance and they scored. That's not what this game would have been for us if that's how it turned out. It turned out to be a 1-0 win for Copenhagen, because the fact of the matter is, we didn't look dangerous. We were not creating chances like PSG were against Liverpool. It was mostly Alisson keeping them in the game. For Copenhagen, I mean, they weren't even being tested. The keeper hardly was tested today. If we had ended 1-0, it would not have been oh, well, that's unlucky for Chelsea. No, we did this to ourselves. Copenhagen were very defensive. I'll give them that. They did their jobs well defensively. They kept very focused back there for the most part. But we were not doing ourselves any favors. We were playing so negative, so slow. I don't understand where this came from, but this mindset of let's just knock it around slowly, and then maybe whenever the opportunity comes, maybe after all of this slow play where we've been doing nothing but just walking around on the ball, maybe when that one opportunity where we have to play a split-second ball and we have to be ready for it and on our toes, maybe we'll just suddenly turn on. That's not how it works. If you are not turned on, if you're playing so slow, that's how you tend to be in the moments whenever you need to be turned on. When Badiashile is once again doing his thing where he's taking 5 or 6 touches and going nowhere and just standing on the ball near half field, even though we probably should be trying to go score a goal, considering our recent defensive record. But he's doing that again, and they wonder why all of a sudden when Copenhagen break out, they're so effective at it. Well, it's because they've been constantly moving, they're constantly ready, they're turned on, they're on their toes, they're ready to go. Meanwhile, we're just kind of casual with it, and then boom, it turns, we have to defend, and suddenly we're not ready because we weren't ready before. There's so much of a lack of movement, a lack of preparedness, like just that unwillingness to move after you've played a ball. There were several times where somebody passes a ball and then stands and just watches. And the person that got the ball, they no longer have help because the person that passed it to them is not moving to give them an option. So the only option they have, go backwards, and then we go back, and then we go back, and then we go down the field again, and then there are no options, so we go back. But I don't get why that's become a thing for us as a club. Because I will say this is not a Maresca thing. In fact, first part of the season, we weren't seeing this from Maresca. We weren't seeing this kind of slow, knock it around, and then just negative. But to be honest, this kind of feels like just revert to factory settings for Chelsea. I've seen it pretty much since Sarri was here. I called it Sarri ball, but now it's been Potter ball, now it's been Lampard ball, it's partially been Poch ball, it's partially now been Maresca ball. Like, that's what we end up getting back to at some point. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why we as a club, no matter what manager we have, no matter what players we have here, that's what it ends up becoming, is this slow, dull, idealist, possession-based play that is never, ever penetrating anything. But looking at Maresca, his lineup today was just awful. I thought coming into it, he was either going to go strong to show we want to win this competition because this is probably our best way into Europe, or he was going to set up maybe a bit weaker to show, all right, well, we're preparing for Leicester because we want to pick up 3 points there because we still believe we have a chance to make Europe in the league, which I think would be a dumb decision. Fact of the matter is, he did neither. Kind of did a little bit of both. He kept some strong players in there to show a determination to try to get the win, but then he also went pretty weak with some of the lineup, which tells me he's resting players for the weekend. But even with the idea of trying to mix some starters with some of the young players and some of the second team players that aren't probably going to play on the weekend, even with that in mind, a lot of the decisions still don't make sense. He played both of our right backs, Gusto and James, the only real two right back options we have. Yes, technically, Chalobah can step over there, Achimpong can step over there, but when you're talking about starting right backs, he's got both Gusto and James in today. On top of that, he's got both of the second center backs in. Colwell's obviously going to start, but it's either going to be Chalobah or Tosin on the right. He started both of them today. Like, I get the idea that you have no other left back option because you've not kept anybody but Cucurella on the left side for some stupid reason. So I understand you're going to be playing somebody out of position over there, but I don't understand why Gusto's over there, but then James is also playing in the midfield, but then Chalobah is playing at right back, and Tosin and Badiashile are in. None of that really makes sense when you think about you're trying to rest some legs for the weekend. Well, yeah, but you're also not resting some legs for the weekend. Like, Chalobah and Tosin both played 90 minutes today. Are we just expecting them to do it again? Like, one of them or both of them to do it again on the weekend? Because that would be kind of stupid. James also played the full 90, and with Gusto going out hurt, that means he's going to be our basically only right back, unless you're going to start trusting Achimpong, and I don't think he's ready for this level yet. So now you basically just run out the only option you have at right back, who is also very injury prone, for 90 minutes. How does that make sense? And then on top of that, you put Maresca up top. Who does that help? He's not ready to start at the front line, and he doesn't have any help behind him. He's got Dewsbury-Hall, I'll talk about him later, Palmer in probably his worst run of form, where now all of a sudden you're trusting him to be your main point of attack. Nobody else up there has done it consistently. Dewsbury-Hall is a joke. Maresca is a kid who's starting for the first time. George is young, yes, very talented and exciting, but he's still young. So basically you're trusting Palmer to be your focus of attack today, while he's in his worst run of form ever. How is that going to help him? You want to get him back into form before you start putting all this pressure on him to be the main focus point. And yet Maresca just said, no, we've got this. Palmer, you got it. And then Maresca, you play off of him. George, you play off of him. Dewsbury-Hall, you go be the amazing person you are. And we wonder why we didn't score or even have a shot on target in the first half. On top of that, I don't know where this came from, but for some reason we were playing down the left today for the most part. We also tried playing through the middle, which was not working because they absolutely packed it in the middle, and we had no room to play in there, and yet we kept trying that. The left side is where we saw a lot of our attack, which had Gusto playing out of position and Dewsbury-Hall. That's where you want your attack to come from, right? Not your young, exciting winger and Palmer on the right side. No, you don't want to go that way. Go to the left side where you got Gusto, who already is not great in the attack, and Dewsbury-Hall, who's a joke of a player. And even when Cucurella came in, you still only got Dewsbury-Hall over there for support. Why are we going down the left side so much today? As far as the subs that Maresca made, I will say they did help at halftime. I'm sure some of these were already planned. I'm sure he already planned to sub out Caicedo for Fernandez. I'm sure he planned to sub out Badiashile at halftime just for resting legs, and Badiashile's coming back from injury. Maresca, I would assume that was also a halftime sub planned. Just give the kid a half to run around, see what he can do, and then sub him off at halftime. Either that or he just saw that he wasn't really getting anything done, so he said, well, let's move George up there, move some things around. Whatever the case, those three subs at halftime are what changed the game. But talking individuals today, first of all, Sanchez didn't really make any big mistakes today, but wasn't really that great either. The goal probably should have done a little bit better since he did get a hand to it to actually tip it over. But at the same time, it's also a free header at pace coming at him on the other side that he had to get across to. I can't really say it's his fault, but I will say most of the time as a keeper, if you get your hand to it, you probably should be making the save. Chalobah on the right side, he's not really a right back, and I think there were a couple of times where that showed, where positionally he wasn't set up very well as far as where he was supposed to be defensively, who he was supposed to be marking. There were several moments where he's kind of out of position. Tosin and Badiashile in the middle, both of them did okay. We weren't really being tested heavily. Obviously, Copenhagen were coming at us with a lot of pace whenever they won the ball back. The quality of the crosses, the quality of the finishing in the final third for them wasn't really that great, to be honest. So it's not like the defending they had to do was top tier defending. Gusto on the left side, obviously he's not a left back, and I think it showed because we were asking him to basically be a left wing back as much as he got up into the attack, and he's already not great in the attack, but put him on the left side and he's even worse. Because the one thing that he could do decently well last year was drive down the line and cross in first time with his right foot. Now he can't do that because he's on the left side, so his only option is to cut in on his right foot, and he's not really clever enough on the ball to get away from the defender. Caicedo was the one man today that I will give credit to because he played phenomenally. For the first half, he was probably the only player that I felt like was really giving a shit. He was working hard, trying to win the ball back as much as he could on the ball. He looked clever. He was trying to create. Unfortunately, he's one man, and they were overloading the midfield, and James and Palmer and Dewsbury-Hall were not giving us anything. So Caicedo was the only thing in there that was really working for us. It is ironic that he comes out in second half suddenly. Fernandez and James score the 2 goals. But I think a lot of that is just down to there's a bit more in front of them in the second half compared to the first. So where Caicedo wins the ball back and he has no options to go to, and even when he does, they lose the ball. When Fernandez comes in second half, he's got Nkuku up there to look at. We've got George up top who's moving a little bit more than Maresca was, so I think it was opening up a bit more space for everybody else. And I do think also Cucurella had finally started to grow into the game a little bit more as well. So I think the game opened up a little bit more in the second half in the midfield. Copenhagen were not strangling it nearly as much, which I think is why Fernandez and James look so much better together in the second half than James and Caicedo. But on James, I will say his first half performance was pretty atrocious. Defensively, it felt like he was losing track of his runners way too easily. On the ball, not really a whole lot of quality. And then he gets the goal in the second half and suddenly looks a little bit more like the James we're used to seeing. So maybe there's just a confidence issue there, and maybe that goal will help him. But first half definitely had me concerned that we were still getting that kind of lazy walking around Reece James, and also the fact that he's playing 90 minutes. It's good from a standpoint of he's getting the minutes in, but also we know how he is. We know he's very weak physically and very good chance he could hurt something again. So I am concerned that he played the whole match today and probably will have to on the weekend as well. George, I thought in the first half was very isolated. Palmer was not doing a good job of working with him. He was very stagnant throughout most of the first half. So George was very isolated up out on the right-hand side and didn't really have a lot of time and space to do much with what creativity we know he has. When he moved up top, I feel like he was doing a good job of getting in behind. Also, scoring the goal pretty early on in the second half meant that Copenhagen had to step out a bit more, which meant he had space to get in behind. So I think that also helped him a bit because he did look a lot better in the second half up top. Palmer, I already talked about it a little bit, but yeah, he was just off it today again. And I really think a lot of it is just he's in a bad run of confidence. He's a bad run of form. We need the team around him to kind of pick him up, build him up, give him these opportunities so he can get that confidence again before we start making him the center focal point of the attack. Dewsbury-Hall, Maresca, and George. Palmer's going to be the guy that is going to be your most dangerous threat, which means he's going to have all that pressure to create something. He had to be at his best today, and he's just not been recently. So throwing him to the Wolves was not a good decision on Maresca's part today. And then Dewsbury-Hall, I've already called him a joke in this video. Attack-wise, didn't give us anything, and defensively, he's the cause of the goal. No idea what's going on behind him. Guy just runs in. No trouble whatsoever. I know Dewsbury-Hall is watching somebody. I know there is somebody he is marking. That doesn't matter. You should be aware of what's going on. You should be able to turn and see, hey, there's a guy back there that nobody's marking. I got to make sure he doesn't run in. No clue. Ball comes in. No idea where he is. He even just sort of slows up a little bit because he's thinking, all right, it's going out of bed. Oh no. Completely turned off, completely clueless to what's going on. Why the hell did we buy him? Why the hell did we buy him when we had Conor Gallagher? I know why. I know it's money, but come on. The fact that there's not been more uproar about just that transfer. I know people have talked about it. I know people have criticized it, but there should be signs. There should be signs and protests specifically about that transfer because my God, you want to talk about one of the worst transfers in our history. I think you don't have to look any further and say Dewsbury-Hall. When you look at comparison to what we had in Conor Gallagher to what we have now. I know Gallagher's not world class. I'm not trying to hype him up and say he's the best player ever. But let's be honest, he's Premier League quality. Dewsbury-Hall is barely championship quality from what I'm seeing. I just want to go ahead and throw this out here because we won, so I'm in a slightly better mood. I will say he's probably a great guy. I have no personal problem with him, anything like that. I don't know him, so I'm not trying to attack his character. I'm just saying from a business, from a competition standpoint, the decision to sell Gallagher and bring in Dewsbury-Hall is a massive downgrade when you look at the quality of player. I know that's very harsh of somebody that's just sitting on his couch watching these games for me to criticize these people, but what I'm seeing, I'm just saying it how it is. And then finally, Moika up top. Like I said, 17-year-old kid, first start, and you look at what he has behind him. He's not going to get a whole lot of service. Copenhagen, we're sitting very deep, so he's not even going to get space to run in behind. I just think this was not a good game to start him in. I personally just feel that next leg would have been better. Copenhagen now have to chase a lead at our place. I feel like that's a much better situation to put a 17-year-old kid in up top than you're going to Copenhagen, you're going to Denmark to play them, and you know that they are a team that can set up to be very frustrating. Like, that's a lot of pressure to put on this 17-year-old kid for his first start for the senior team. At least I'm pretty sure it's his first start. I don't think he started any of the other Conference League matches. So again, it's just another decision from Maresca that I don't understand why. As far as the subs that came on, first of all, Cucurella coming on in the first half, I thought looked fine. He just got a lot of energy. And in the second half, after he'd kind of grown into the match a little bit, I thought he looked a lot better. But obviously, this is a game very suited to him because the other team, what they have is a lot of pace and energy, and he can match that. But he's also got a little bit more technique as well that I think puts him a leg up over the competition. The subs that came on at halftime, and Cuckoo, didn't really see a whole lot from him, but I feel like there was just a little bit more quality on that left-hand side when he came in. It allowed Cucurella to have somebody to play off of instead of Dewsbury-Hall. Fernandez, I think, did add a little bit more quality in the midfield. Again, getting the early goal did help. It did mean that the midfield was not nearly as claustrophobic, which means he had a bit more time and space to play in there. But I think overall his passing is really solid. Is something that I've seen from him before, where when he sits deep and he can knock it around and spray it out wide and all of that, he's very good at that. And then Colwill, I didn't see anything phenomenal. I didn't see anything awful from him today. I will say, while Dewsbury-Hall was the one that should have had his eye on the man, Colwill was in the vicinity as well. And I've talked about with him having that issue. Southampton, their one really great chance comes from a moment where he has no idea where the guy is behind him. And I think once again it happened today. Dewsbury-Hall is closer, so he should be the one to see that. But Colwill also has no idea where that guy is. He has no idea what's behind him. I don't understand why that's not being fixed. From a defensive standpoint, from the guy who is technically the best player in defense for us, how have we not fixed that one glaring issue that he has? To be fair, he has a couple. He also likes to let people cut in on their strong foot and have a shot too easily. But definitely from a cross into the back post, he has so little awareness what's behind him. That should be fixed. That should be addressed. You should look at the goals that he's given up like that and say, look, Levi, it's time to change this. It's time to work on this. And then the final one was Sancho, and to be honest, I didn't really see much from him, which is disappointing considering he's not been in a good run of form. So I expected him to come into a game like this against a side that is decent, but they're not really a good side. This should still be a side that we handle. I expect a player of Sancho's quality to come in and have a little bit of fun, build that confidence a little bit, get himself a goal, get himself an assist, something along those lines. Didn't do anything really from what I remember. So it's just very concerning that his form, it feels like it's just dropped off a cliff and it doesn't feel like he's coming back. It doesn't feel like that creativity and that drive that we saw from him early on is anywhere in his game now. But anyways, with all of that being said, those are my thoughts on the game today. Obviously, we've got another fairly simple game this weekend in Leicester, but trickier than Southampton, to be fair. We have to be prepared for it. This is 3 points that we need to get if we want any hope of getting Europe and from the league this season. And then we've got Copenhagen again next week at the Bridge. We should be picking up 2 wins from this. And if we don't for the league, I already am of the mindset that we are not going to stay in Europe. We're getting helped by the teams around us not doing their jobs, not picking up wins when they should be picking up wins. So we're helped out by that, which is why we're still somehow in contention for the top 4. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think we're going to get enough points from here to the end of the season to keep ourselves in that top 4 race. I think we're dropping way too many points. I look at who we have left to play. We're playing the bottom 2 teams right now, but after that, we don't have a whole lot of easy games left. Everybody else is top half of the table or Big 6 clubs that are having a terrible season. And even in those matches, I'm not confident we're going to walk away with 3 points. So the Conference League is kind of the main focus, I think, of where we will be picking up Europe next season. But with Copenhagen, I don't count them out. And I hate having that feeling. I shouldn't have that feeling, but my God, the way we've been playing recently, the way we played this first half, it seems very possible that they could come in and shock us. I mean, all it takes is 1 goal, the confidence slips, and they could get another and win, or they could take us all the way to penalties, and who knows what would happen at that point. But all I know is if we don't make it to the final, hell, if we don't win this thing, I think there's going to be a bit of an uprising. I do think, we already saw some protests. I think that number is going to grow if we don't win the Conference League this year. But I think that's about all I have. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game today? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. Also, check out the channel. We have a lot of reviews on here as well as some Let's Plays, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, hope you guys have a great day. And I will talk to you all later. Peace out.